Well, good evening, everybody. It's a pleasure to be back. George Morgan here at your service. It's PSGL, it's Wednesday night, it's Spain tonight as well. Lots on the table, lots of battling. The title contest is still alive and kicking. And Jack, it's only taken us 10 rounds. We're on the 11th. It's all to play for.
Boromant goes on the inside and takes the lead on the final lap of the race. Now it's side by side between Boromant and Warner, but Boromant's got the inside.
Literally a guest star here in this phenomenal race. Cameron Dowd looking to take P2 in his very first PSGL F1 PC race. Incredible to say the least. You see that Putin to lead. 1.5 seconds. DRS is the name.
Good evening everyone and welcome back to the PSGL YouTube channel for round number 9 of this PC F2 season. Last time out we headed to Suzuka where Joseph Loeb was able to take victory in that enthralling Grand Prix. Apologies about the game noise in the background, hopefully it's going to end soon. But today we head to Imola this evening, a very fun, exciting circuit. Can be difficult to race on at times, but hopefully it is going to be a fun one this evening. My name is Dan Field and tonight I've been joined by Nathan Richards as always. Nathan, how are you doing this evening?
I'm doing great and I'm excited for this race in particular because this is my favourite track, not just in esports but in general. It's such a great track. It's not had its best history with many drivers, but apart from that, I think the layout of it's really cool. You've got lots of different types of elements of track, and I think the one part of the track for me which is the most unique of any is Acqua Minerale, the uphill type chicane section. Really difficult to master, but if you can master it, you can gain so much time on everyone else.
Yeah, Acqua Minerale is one of my favourite corners to go through in career mode because you can, if you run regular corner cutting rules, you can just completely cut that outside and it is absolutely wonderful. Gain so much time, but of course running strict this evening, these drivers are going to have a tough time with it. I mean, this is a really difficult circuit to absolutely get down perfectly. Of course, the first sector characterised by those two S's sections of, I forget the names, it's Tamburello in one of them, and I forget the other name, but I'm sure I'll get it. Villeneuve, that's it. Get that later. Then the hairpin at Tosa at the end of that first sector. Then you head into the undulation and the flowingness of that second sector. Then it really does slow down into the third part of the track with the what Variante Alta? I'm pretty sure it is the chicane where Charles Leclerc had an accident at some point, and then Ravazza 1 and 2 where Carlos Sainz has had his accident. So Ferraris, they've not had the best time here at Imola, but this evening they are hoping for the best because one of them, Mirko Soriano, in the championship hunt at the minute. The other one, Valentino Labella, making his debut this evening.
Yeah, definitely. It'd be nice to see what he can do. I've seen him in WR multiple times and he's a very quick driver. Obviously came over from PlayStation. I believe he is Asakome from PlayStation. Also, yes, Connor, unfortunately, my camera's broken, so I need to purchase a new one. So that's why it's not there tonight. But yeah, I'm excited to see what Valentino can do. And also, another thing to talk about is the fact Jack West is now a full-time driver after 7 rounds.
Yep, Jack West, of course, has been a reserve for the entirety of this season, but he has got perfect attendance throughout all of it. He's attended every single Grand Prix thus far. Now he's finally got that full-time seat, and it is McLaren that is the lucky team that gets to have Jack West on their side, because now he's finally going to be able to be scoring constructors points throughout the season. I'm just going to have a quick look at the constructors standings. McLaren down in 5th at the minute. It has mostly just been Legend Rosenberg scoring all the points. Harvey Cohen had a decent finish in Britain, I believe that was, but yeah, McLaren, they're not in the best position at the minute. I think Jack West, who's in the championship hunt at the moment, he could definitely give them some good results Having a look at the standings, Mirko Soriano is leading on 63 points ahead of Jack West in second on 55. Joseph Loke, he's got himself on 52, but I believe, unfortunately, he is not racing this evening, which is really sad to see. Duncan Hoffland sits in fourth on 41 points. There's a bit of a gap to fifth with Tamas Gao on 28 in the Red Bull. Andrew Tarabukin still sitting in 6th on 15. Flores Fires on 14, the same as Legend Rosenberg in 7th and 8th. Shimon Lakomsky with his podium. He finally scored his first points this season. He jumped all the way from right at the back of the grid in 26th all the way up into 9th. He's on the same amount of points as Jan Haladej, who rounds out the top 10. Rishan Jacobs sits in 11th with Max Wiesel in 12th, Xander Van Dijk in 13th. 14th is the two Talent Factory drivers of Tycho Hardy and Daniel Koyer, which I believe is actually shut down, unfortunately. Then I'm just going to list out all the other drivers. Jos Nordijk on 9, then Ben Jabakoni on 9 as well, Harvey Cohen on 8, Sergio Sobrino on 6, Timo Zelenkovic on 5, 3 for Chan Akinci, 2 for Jona Martins, 1 for Kamal Stakara, then without points, Yannick Schmidt, Matthew Older, and Declan Barrett. There's a lot of drivers that we've just run through, but Nathan, you can hear the beeping. We're about to get ready to go.
Yes, and I can't wait. Qualifying around here is always great. As you saw in F1 last night, there was 64 thousandths of a second separating the top 10 in Q2. Obviously here we just run the 18-minute session, just one qualifying session, not like it is in F1 with 3. But still, I think around here, this grid is still going to put a very close qualifying up, and anyone obviously has the chance to take pole, and I think it's hard to call who will. I think one driver who I think might suffer with these close gaps is Mirko Soriano. We know he's obviously the championship leader. He's done stellar in the race. He's taken podiums in, I think, at least 75% of the races he's taken part in. But he's always struggled in qualifying. We've seen him many times being in P5, P6. I think even one race, I think Japan, he started in P9. So maybe with this could put him at a little bit of a disadvantage with how close the grid probably will be.
Yeah, and there's plenty of high-speed corners around this circuit as well. So maybe it's sort of similar to Japan in that nature. So Mirko Soriano, he could struggle, as we've got some interesting developments here in qualifying. We'll join you trackside here at Imola after a quick word from our sponsors at GT Omega. Welcome back, everyone, trackside here in Imola, where you can see it is a rain-soaked Italian Emilia-Romagna Grand Prix track. I mean, wow, the Italian weather really has not shone on us this evening. Normally it's nice and sunny here in the Mediterranean, but unfortunately the gods have showered down on us, and we're going to see how the drivers cope in the intermediate conditions.
Yeah, this could be very interesting. The dry weather around here could be quite difficult for drivers to navigate themselves around, but with it being wet, that creates a whole different story. Now, the thing we've got to think about is, well, if it's going to rain in the race, we could see them using wet setups, but if the race is dry, then we might see most likely see drivers using a dry setup, so qualifying for those could be quite, very difficult in these conditions. So we'll see how that develops as the session goes on, and also we need to see if it starts to dry up, because if the track starts to dry up as the session goes on, then the end of qualifying could be very, very interesting, as we've seen before in many of the wet qualifying sessions we've had here.
Yeah, and we're going to likely expect a bit of a bigger gaps than what we've seen last night in PSGL F1, where it was, the top 10 or something. We're all separated by 65 thousandths of a second. I doubt we're going to see anything really close to that, because there's a bit of a bigger skill gap in the wet weather. You can see through Avatsa 1 and 2, Jan Haladej is having to correct himself off the exit of those corners. He is struggling already in these conditions. He's beginning his lap. But of course, we have to think about, Nathan, these guys, they don't really practice as much in these wet weather conditions, so they're not going to be as refined along along a single lap, and especially throughout an entire race. So I'm going to expect in this qualifying session a lot of mistakes to be made, and I think we could see some surprises down in the order.
Yeah, definitely. I think a lot of drivers think, right, if it rains, then we just wing it and see what happens, and hopefully for the best it works. But I think this is one of the tracks you don't really practice wet either way. Some tracks you might try the wet just to see what it's like. But around here, I've seen quite a few of the sessions that people have been practicing, and they're pretty much almost dry. As Jan comes through now on his lap in towards Piratella. Very nice through there. Obviously, you're down to gear 5. Normally, you'll take some of the higher gears when it's in the wet, just so you can get a bit more traction on the corner entries and exits as you come down in towards Aqua Minerale. Big slide from Jan. You can see these conditions really not doing well, and he's having to weed through all these cars, a Red Bull and an AlphaTauri, as he heads down in towards a Variante Alta. Breaks just before the 50-metre board, throws the car in. Be very careful on those curbs as they can fling you around, and also very easy to invalidate the lap. But Jan doing a pretty clean first bank up, depending obviously on what fuel he runs. Normally, we'll see drivers do 2 or 3 laps because they can afford to run a little bit more fuel, and then just take about 3 or 4 more qualifying laps, as hopefully the session will start to dry.
We'll see what Jan Halliday can do as he comes across the line. It's looked like a very scrappy lap for the Aston Martin driver. He comes across with a 1 minute 23.0, I believe. Max Wiesel's on a lap at the minute, but he is unfortunately invalidated on that attempt. I'm trying to find who else is on a run. Valentino Labella is on a lap at the minute, but I'm trying to find who is in that final sector. It's very hard to see. I think we'll watch the debutant this evening of Labella in the Ferrari. Of course, Ferrari haven't had the greatest history around this circuit in recent memory, but of course it could be something special this evening. It's an Italian track, an Italian team with 2 Italian drivers in himself and Soriano, as he's coming now through the final corner at Ravazza 2. There's a Haas just in front of him, who I believe is coming up towards the line. Here it is with Labella. He's going to come across with a 1 minute 22.865 on top for the time being. Yannick Schmidt comes across the line and goes quickest of the bunch, and with a 22.4. But already, Nathan, so many invalidations, so many drivers seem to be struggling with the conditions.
Yeah, I've seen about 5 drivers already have invalidations, and that is not good at all, because it means, you've got to put more and more pressure on yourself to get a lap time on the board. And well, in these conditions, the more pressure you put on yourself, the easier it is to make more mistakes. As Legend comes to the line, it will be a 23.018, puts him into the top 3 for now. And with everyone on track, we've only got 4 lap times. Xander Van Dijk is going purple in the first set, so we'll stick on board with him for now as he heads through in towards that second sector. Daniel Kerr goes into 5th place with a 23.271. Xander heads down in towards Aqua Minerale, goes a little bit wide, invalidates that, and spins the car. And that is the type of incident you don't want. Max Wiesel, however, is heading out the final couple of corners.
Yep, Szymon Lekomski comes across the line, quickest of them all. Max Wiesel now through Ravazza 2, but very squirrely off the exit. He's going to complete this lap. We'll see where he can go in that Mercedes, but he goes to the top of the order, not quite. 1 at 22.881. We've seen Xander Van Dijk go for a spin at Aqua Minerale. We just watched Jack West as well have an invalidation through there. So this circuit, especially in that second sector, seems to be really testing these drivers at the minute. Duncan Hoffland on a lap at the moment. We'll see what he can do as Tamas Gals come across the line with a 1 minute 31. He must have made a pretty big mistake on that lap and completely backed off, and he'll go for another one. The Dutchman now in the Aston Martin, 4th in the standings, looking for a strong performance this evening. We'll see what he can do as he comes across the line. Duncan Hoffland is going to go 4th fastest at 1 minute 22.860. A lot of drivers culminating around that high 22 mark, but Szymon Lekomski and Yannick Schmidt, both of them seem to be a cut above the rest in the wet.
They are, and that could be the fact they're using a wet set, because that is a gigantic lap. It's gap. It's 6/10 of Tima from Simon, and then it's 4/10 from Yannick to Tima. So that is, quite a big gap. And well, if the conditions stay like this, that should be good enough for them to hopefully keep themselves in the top 5. I'm sure the conditions will start to dry. And one thing to note is that our 2 championship protagonists haven't set lap times. That's Jack West and Mirko Soriano. Jack heading down in towards Ravazza 1 and 2. Jan Halliday takes provisional pole position with a 22.103. Ben Sabakonyi puts himself into the top 4, and Andrea Trabukin also in the top 6. We'll see now what Jack West can do at the final corner. Big slide now as he heads up towards the start-finish line. What will it be for Jack West? It will be P5, and his championship contender Mirko Soriano was invalidated. Now that is not good at all.
Not at all, as Joost Noordijk is slow on this lap. He's definitely going to have to either come into the pit lane or go once again. I think that's another lap in a row for the Dutchman. That is not going to be a strong showing. Matthew Alder in the final sector at the minute seems to be the next driver up on a lap, and there's Valentino Labella is just in front of him, I believe, but I don't believe there's an improvement there from the Ferrari. Here comes now Matthew Alder to the line. What's it going to be? 13th fastest for him, 1 minute 22.983. And Nathan, we noticed that not many drivers are coming into the pit lane. It's been 8 minutes so far in this session. We've pretty much seen running from everyone in this qualifying run, and that is because I believe is that those intermediates, they take about 1 or 2 laps to really really get up to speed and get up to temperature in these wet weather conditions. So these guys, they fuel up the car a little bit more and they put more rubber down on that circuit. And Nathan, what that's doing is it's forming a dry line, which is why we see times improve so drastically as the session goes on.
Yeah, and I'm noticing a dry line as I'm watching Mirko Soriano. I'm keen to see what time he can do as he heads through into this middle sector in towards Acqua Minerale at the moment. A very difficult part of the track. It's very easy to lock the rears and spin round there, and Mirko taking that very nicely now. He's got a few corners left to go, but he needs to make sure he doesn't invalidate, otherwise he's going to be starting even closer, and it's looking even more likely that he'll be at the back, because he's currently in P20 as he's one of the drivers who, along with Xander van Dokken, who hasn't set a lap time. Now Mirko heading down in towards this next section at Ravazza 1 and 2, braking at the 100-metre border on the corner. A bit of a lock up there, but nothing too harmful on his lap. He comes through in towards the final Ravazza, goes a little bit wide, luckily doesn't invalidate. Now we'll see. What can the championship leader do as he heads to the line? What will it be? P4 for Mirko Soriano. Now that has put him out of the danger zone, I think, for now.
But look at the gap between the top three and the rest of the grid. Jan Halliday, Szymon Lekomski and Yannick Schmidt, three drivers who you don't typically see at the front of the order in every single race. They are completely gapping the field at the minute. Their closest rival is Mirko Soriano, the current championship leader, on a 1 minute 22.701. So I'm wondering if there is that difference in the setup. Of course, as restart isn't guaranteed, even though we see it quite often here in PSGL F2, pretty much every single race with this ongoing bug. It's not guaranteed, so maybe some drivers are utilizing a dry setup to really, enhance their advantage coming into the race, and that is going to leave the likes of Halliday, Lekomski and Schmidt all vulnerable. But if that restart comes, then those three are going to be in a fantastic position as Legend Rosenberg comes across the line with a P4 lap, a 1 minute 22.526, bridging that gap to the top three, but still miles off those three drivers. They seem to be in a class of their own this evening.
Yeah, and Daniel Carr's also put himself in the top six. I didn't see that one. And Xander van Dokken yet again invalidates and goes off at Acqua Minerale. Every single time, I think he's done about 3 laps and he's always gone off there. So that corner is not locking him at all. And at the moment, Haas are sitting 18th and 19th. And also, I don't know if you've already mentioned, Dan, but Tony Kinchi has got a qualifying ban. I think it was because he didn't turn up to any races since round 1. So that's not an ideal way to return, is it? It's like, oh yeah, you haven't been here 6 races. Well, you're making your return, but we'll give you a qualifying ban to go along with it. So it's going to be a long race for Tony Kinchi, because to start from the back in any race is painful, but for it to be around here, I think it's even more painful. There's also another surprise in the session for me, is Tamas going 17th position as he's actually about to start a qualifying lap.
Yeah, he's not set a proper push lap, on pace at the minute. He's made a mistake somewhere along the run. He's on a 1 minute 31.4 at the minute, which is nowhere near his representative pace. Probably a lot closer to what Io yourself would do, Nathan, in the wet weather conditions around this track. I don't really typically enjoy Imola in the dry and then throw it in some wet conditions. It's just so difficult to get absolutely perfect. Though at the moment we're watching Max Wiesel, who's a driver currently outside the top, he's just about in the top 10 in the championship. You'd expect him to be fighting for the championship, but lo and behold, he's really begun to struggle in this season. Can Imola be the race that he really gets his season underway? Right, 9 rounds in, it's not been good for him. We'll see what he can do then as he comes across the line. What's it going to be for Max Wiesel? It's P5 for the time being. Puts himself just 400th down on Legend Rosenberg, but still not good enough to get himself into that top 3. He'll sit on the 3rd row of the grid. I'm trying to find who else is on a run at the moment. I think Jack West might just be starting his lap now. There's a Ferrari in the final sector. Is that Soriano? It is not. However, Mirko Soriano, Nathan, he's purple in the 2nd sector, and he's coming now in towards Ravazza 1 and 2.
Yeah, we'll see what he can do. He's had a very nice middle sector. I was having a little look at his onboard, and he went very nice. I don't know how much he was up by, but I think it was by a decent amount. He's currently on a 22.7. Tamas Gal goes on to provisional pole with a 22.064. Can Mirko Soriano try and take that away from Tamas Gal up to the line? It is going to be P6 just behind his teammate, but still 3/10ish off of P5, so a big gap still between, well, I'll say the top 5 and then everyone else below. I want to see where Jack West is as he's coming down in towards, I believe this is Piratelli, yes it is, and now he's coming down in towards Acqua Minerale, 10th up in the 1st sector. We'll see what he can do in the middle sector. Goes a little bit wide, invalidates the lap time. Now Jack West, he's got 5 minutes. He's in P14 as Jan Halliday takes that pole position back again, and still very close to the 21s, but just not quite there as Andrei Tarabukin pops himself into P2, who hasn't been in the top 3 since the first round at Brazil.
Yeah, well, the lap times are just crashing down at the minute. We've seen multiple drivers now get themselves into the top 3, only to be overtaken by another driver. How is this going to pan out for the rest of the session? With 5 minutes left to go, we'll have to wait and see. Valentino Nobella is unfortunately invalidated on his lap time. I think there's an Alpha Tauri in the final sector. Is that Shimon Lakonski beginning his lap? Indeed, it is. Let's have a look at one of the Haas drivers, Xander Van Dyken, in Sector 3, finally on a proper valid run. On a 1 minute 22.665 at the moment. It's definitely not what he would want, and he's going to come back into the pit lane, and they'll strap on a fresh set of the Inters to go once again. Tamas Gal now coming out of the final corner. However, he is slower now, and I think he's once again going to come back into the pit lane. I think most drivers need to refuel the cars. We've pretty much seen action throughout the entire session here, but yeah, Tamas Gal into the pit lanes, and Alfa Romeo as well coming in. I think most drivers going to box now, pit for a fresh set of the Inters, refuel the car, and go once again in the last 4 minutes of the session.
Well, I was on board with Sergio Sabrino. I was going to say he's doing a great job, but he's just invalidated. He's 8.5 tenths off in Sector 2, but he did go a little bit wide at the exit of Aqua Minerale. So that isn't good. He's now going to have to go back into the pits, or at least go again. He's got 4 minutes to go, so I think at this point the best bet is jump into the pits, get yourself a new set of Inters on, and go out for one last lap. Joost Noordhoek's coming through. He's gone purple in the second sector according to my screen. He's currently he's currently on a 32.3, which is what, 10 seconds off P18. Obviously that's not a representable time at all. And for Yo, someone of his caliber should be in the top 10 at least. He's a very quick driver. He's obviously got a lot of experience in the F1 scene. So we'll see what he can do as he comes out of the final corner up to the line. What will it be for Joost Noordhoek? Is it a top 10? It's going to be a P4. Very nice there. And he matches the time of Tamas Gal.
Same time as Tamas Gal, but it is quite a bit later in the session as Szymon Lakomski comes across the line to set the first 1 minute 21 of this session. We'll see if anyone else is able to beat that coming into the final few parts of qualifying, where most drivers are now coming out of the pit lane with 3 minutes left to go. I think, Nathan, we are potentially going to see a one and done run from most of the drivers on this grid. Yannick Schmidt is down on this lap time, so I think he's going to go once again, but still multiple drivers in the pit lane at the minute. In the wet weather conditions, it's definitely a lot slower to get around the track, so I'm wondering if any of these guys are going to miss out on getting their lap started. And I think now is a good time, Nathan, to ask what we think the pole time is going to be. I'm going to have a look on board with Yannick Schmidt, because it looks like the rain is beginning to ease up, and I think we could see times tumbling down. So I'm going to pose the question to everyone in the live chat, what you think the pole time will be, and who's going to get it. Nathan, I'll pose that same question to you now.
Oh, well, in the draw it's all easy, but this is going to be quite a hard prediction. I'm going to say a 21.4, and I'm going to say the person in last at the moment, which is Sergio Sabrino.
Sergio Sabrino, well, that's certainly a bold prediction there. We'll see if we can read out a few of the comments in the live chat as Jack West is just getting his run underway. Nicholas Longe is saying 21.5 for Mirko Soriano. Of course, just a few weeks ago in Japan, he picked up his first ever PSGL win, and I think he sees something in our championship leader who's just exiting the pit lane now. And Nathan, of course, he is coming out very late in this qualifying session. Duncan Hoffland as well as just exiting the pit lane. Those guys, if they can get to the line, they're potentially going to have the best track conditions of all.
Yeah, well, I was just on board with Legend Rosenberg. Did a purple second sector and went pretty much straight on at the chicane. And on my screen, it just looked like he was going to hit the wall, but no, he just went a little bit too quick, and that is probably either his run done, unless we have a minute left, so we can go again. The annoying part is, because of the yellow sectors, we can't actually see how much time is remaining in the session, so you have to just kind of guess. Xander Van Dyken, however, he's up by 4/10 of a second, and he's heading through towards Piratella at the moment, so this could be a very good improvement. And well, yeah, anyone I think at this point could take pole without quit the track drying up, or starting to at least.
Jack West has gone purple in sector 1. He's improving by about 4/10 of a second at the minute. If he can find a big improvement in the final sector, he could put his name in the ring for a potential pole position. Time is now in towards Ravazza 1 and 2. This tricky series of double left-handers. He locks up into Ravazza 1. We'll see what he can do through 2, where a lot of drivers have got very squirrely off the exit of that curb, and now coming up towards the line, Jack West down in 16th position. He'll come across the line to set a time worth P2. It's not enough to get past Imola, but it's a good enough effort for the time being to get himself on the front row of the grid. We'll try and find now Xander Van Dyken coming through the final sector now, and he'll come across the line to go P2 on the front row of the grid and misses out on pole by just 1/100th of a second. That was incredibly close from him there. I'm trying to see who is next up to come across the line. I think it might be Tycho Hardy down in 14th position at the moment. We'll have a look at the timing tower on the side of our screens. There's now more yellow flags. I think the clock is about to hit 0, and Duncan Hoffland, crucially, has just about started his lap. As now here comes Tycho Hardy through the final few corners now. Ravazza 1 and 2. He's got an Alpine and a McLaren car just behind him. That would be either Timur Zelenkovic or Andrei Tarabukin who'll be next up to come across the line. But Tycho Hardy on a 22.614 to come across the line. Could he go onto provisional pole? It's only going to be P5 for the time being. Is now up next. It will be Timur Zelenkovic in the Alpine to come across the line and jump from 17th all the way onto provisional pole position. Legend Rosenberg in behind him will come across the line and go quickest of them all. The track conditions ramping up to extremes at the minute as now Yannick Schmidt comes across the line with the third 1:21.7 of the session. Daniel Coyer to the line. He'll go into P7 ahead of his teammate. We'll see who can we watch. We'll watch Mirko Soriano in the final sector now as more cars are coming across the line as Jan Halliday has put himself onto the second row of the grid just ahead of Jack West at the minute as I think Tamas Galler's gone into P11. That might have been Zabakoni actually going in to 12th. There's now Andrei Tarabukin to the line with a 1:26.19. And that is the Rey Mysterio time right there. As now Matthew Alder into 15th. Soriano now out of the final corners. Where can the championship leader go this evening? Joost Noordijk sets the exact same lap time as Andrei Tarabukin. Soriano to the line. Can't improve at all. He'll start all the way down in 17th position with his teammate just ahead of him, Valentino Labella, in 16th. Where's Shimon Lakomsky? He's come across the line, but there was no improvement to be had there, and it is a dead heat between Tarabukin and Joost Noordijk for pole position. Andrei Tarabukin, with that time being set first, he'll start on pole position ahead of Joost Noordijk in this race. Legend Rosenberg will start in P3, but what a way to get off to this race.
Well, Dan, you mentioned that the gaps would be a lot bigger. Well, between P1 and 2, I don't think it could be any closer. Nil. It's 0.000 to the thousandth. Is absolutely mental, and a great job from both of those. And Andrei Tarabukin was a surprise for me. I didn't expect to see him take pole. The top 10 was there, but pole, great job from him indeed. And also, Legend Rosenberg in third. That's the type of result he needs in qualifying to help him in hope. Well, I wouldn't say championship charge, but to try and move himself up in the championship. But the key thing to note is it's Jack West in 7th. And Mirko Soriano, the championship leader, in 17th. Unfortunately, I think I cursed him at the start of the stream when I said that he's going to struggle.
I mean, he really did, unfortunately, this session. And I actually think now, Nathan, I'm just going to scroll through the grid. We'll read it. We don't really have time, actually, at the moment. But I'm pretty sure penalties. We don't have any penalties. We
Finally!
We can go without a lobby restart. So I'm not going to bring us back over to the intermission scene. We're going to go straight to the race picture. And it's looking a little bit cloudy. There's no rain coming down on the circuit, which is the key thing. But Nathan, could be a bit of danger here in this race.
Yeah. Well, we'll see what happens because it's very dark. So the rain is probably going to come, as well as the fact we had a wet qualifying. But this, I think, if it does rain, strategy becomes even more interesting. So I think this is going to be a grandstand finish race today.
I've just seen Connor in the live chat saying Dan is very excited by no restart. I said before the stream to Nathan that I'm going to try and be a lot more high energy because a lot of people have been calling me Mr. Whisper lately. So I'm not having that disrespect. I've got to amp up my game, and I am very excited that we're going straight into the action. We're just waiting for everyone to get their setups loaded and get the strategies all in place, and then we should get ready for this race. Andrei Tarabukin and Joost Noordijk completely level in qualifying, heading into this one. We're going to see that heading in towards turn number 1 and 2 at Tamburello, where that could definitely cause a lot of issues. We'll have to wait and see. As the fans, you can see them in the paddock. They're looking incredibly excited. Myself, I'm very excited. Nathan, I'm sure you are absolutely enthralled to get underway. We've got 85 viewers in the live chat. Let us know who you think your top 3 is going to be into this race come the end of it, and then we'll read out some of your answers when we get the chance. We're just waiting for this to get underway, and that's why I'm completely rambling about nothing here. So we need to ready up. We need the countdown timer back, really. I don't know why they got rid of it, because I'm not sure when we're going to get going. And Nathan, if I stop talking now, I think it's going to start straight away.
Yeah, well, let's hope we'd have to restart because of a lobby issue, which isn't to do with penalties.
Oh, there we go here. And just as I say that, we are about to get ready to get underway here. 5 red lights in Imola. And we are green. It looks to be a good start from Andrej Tarabukin, who's going to clear Joost Noordijk heading in towards turn at number 1. They're scrambling further back behind. Jan Haladej looking to try and make a move on Legend Rosenberg as they approach turn number 1 at Tamburello. Andrej Tarabukin clear of his rival side by side further back behind between Legend Rosenberg and Jan Haladej as they head in towards this short mini straight as they head in towards Villeneuve corner now. Haladej is going to get the edge around the outside. Little bit of contact between the pair of them, but through in towards Tosa. It looks like the Aston Martin has managed to get ahead. Jack West with a fantastic start in this Grand Prix on the medium tyres, up into 5th position as they're all chopping and changing down the order. But as they head in towards Sector 2 now, Nathan, it's been completely clean at the start.
It has, and there's a great little battle here between Xander and Daniel Kai. This is for P10 currently as they head down in towards Aqua Minerale. Is Xander, but he tucks back in behind as they come through. Knows it's better just to sit back and not go for a send there. As also, Tamashgal is ghosted inside of the Ferrari Vantino Labella, so I don't know what's happened there, but hopefully that can sort itself out very quickly. Mirko Soriano has made no places so far, which is not an ideal start, but he has started on the hard, so realistically, he has no kind of advantage of anyone at this point. As we head down in towards Rivatsa 1 and 2, you can see a little bit further back that is Max Wiesel trying to get himself ahead of Duncan Hofland as we head through there. Duncan obviously also one hunting for the championship, currently sitting in P18 as Andrej Tarabukin takes the fastest lap as he led for the first lap of the race, and there we can see Joost Noordijk gaining. He does get the lead from Andrej Tarabukin in towards that first corner. Joost Noordijk is leading on this second lap.
Yep, easy enough move up the inside in towards turn number 1, starting on the medium tyres. They're going to look to gap those hards as soon as possible. Legend Rosenberg is the leading hard runners. Now Jack West in behind is really applying the pressure to Jan Haladej, approaching Tosa corner, but he got the inside in towards the hairpin. Indeed, he will. Championship hopeful Jack West looking to try and snatch gold in here as now he goes up the inside, a little bit squirrely off the exit of the corner, but in towards now Piratella. He's going to be able to get ahead of Jan Haladej, who's caught napping into that corner. That was a very nice, well-worked move by the newly named McLaren driver as now Szymon Lekonski gets through on Sergio Sabrino. They've been disconnected from the other medium runners in this race. Legend Rosenberg and Yannick Schmidt, they've wedged themselves in between the medium runners, and I think if they're able to keep with the yellow wall runners, then surely come later laps in this Grand Prix, Nathan, those two, they're going to be in prime position to fight for the lead.
Yeah, definitely, but I think from what we saw yesterday in F1 is the hard to medium strategy wasn't the most optimum. The medium to hard worked a little bit better, but we'll see. Obviously, it's different conditions. The track's a little bit different with it being, I presume, a little bit cold. So we'll see if that makes any changes. And also, with the way the track is very dark, there is a possibility maybe of rain as Tamas Gal gets himself ahead of Tygo Hardy down towards that second corner. It's the Tamburello chicane. Can Tycho fight back? No, because he has to sit behind as they head in towards that corner. And then a little further back, Mirko Soriano still hasn't got any work done. Now, this is really crucial. Mirko Soriano needs to get through on some of these drivers ahead, like Matthew Walter, Ben Sabaconi. You aren't normally up to pace as much as he is. But Jack West gets himself into P3 ahead of Tim Zalankiewicz, who will try and fight back. He's got the outside line, but it isn't enough. Jack West making some great moves at the start of this race now to put himself back into the podium position. Started P7 up to P3. This is a perfect start for Jack West, and now 6 tenths ahead is Andrej Tarabukin, who was our pole sitter.
He's up 4 places in this Grand Prix. He's made the same move twice on different laps. An incredible overtake up the inside of Timo Zelenkovic, disconnecting the two Alpine drivers who have really found themselves in a strong stead in this race. And I think maybe that's to be a little bit to the relief of Timo Zelenkovic, because of course now if you're following in behind your teammate in the race, you're really going to struggle when it comes to the pit stops, because of course normally the lead driver does get priority when it comes to pitting, and if you're Timo Zelenkovic or Legend Rosenberg, Sergio Sabrino, you're going to worry about where your teammate is pitting and what lap they're actually going to do, so you don't double stack, because you'll lose so much time on this F1 at 23 game. But nevertheless, DRS has been enabled on lap number 4, although with everyone following in one massive DRS train essentially, Nathan, that advantage is going to be nullified. So we'll see if anyone is able to make it work with the drag reductive system. But for the time being, no moves on the beginning of lap number 4. Timon Lukomski is getting close to the back of Yannick Schmidt, but other than that, it's been a relatively calm middle part of this race so far.
It has, and the big shameful part is because of the DRS train, nullifying the advantage so much. People struggle so much to get a move because no one can get anything done. Everyone's stuck behind each other because no one's getting an advantage down in towards that, second corner down at the Tamborough chicane. And the issue with this track as well is because it's quite thin, side by side in the corners is also very difficult. So the only way really you need to make a move is by being about a tenth or two behind someone into a corner and absolutely lunging it up the inside to try and get yourself a move. Otherwise, you're going to struggle so much because realistically, you can see the mediums and hards, there's not much difference. No one on these tyres is really gaining or losing. So at the moment, I think any of these tyres could work. So, yeah, it's going to be a bit of a dull next few laps, but hopefully, when the pit stops arrive, then we get to see some more action, and we'll be able to see what people do. I think the medium hard or the hard medium is the most optimal, but we'll see. Maybe someone will think, right, you know what, we're near the back, we'll just try and lunge it for a hard soft, and we'll see what happens. But I don't think for now, at least, that'll be very likely. So we'll just see what happens, but so far, Yosordot doing a great job to lead ahead of Andre and then Jack West in third with his championship rival. Mirko Soriano down in 17th. Now this is key for Jack West and would, I think, put him just about in the lead of the championship. So this is a race that he needs to make sure works perfectly for him, and he can't afford to have a wheel disconnect like he did in Qatar.
I think Jack West will be about 2 points clear at the moment of Mirko Soriano in the championship if it does stay like this, but it is only lap number 5 of 32 in this race. So much can happen. We saw earlier on in F3 and all the lower tiers, there was safety cars and VSCs throughout the entirety of those races, so there is potential for that later on in the Grand Prix, and we'll see who that is going to benefit and who that is going to provide a detriment to their Grand Prix for. Yannick Schmidt on the back of Legend Rosenberg, who seems to be struggling to keep up to the back of Jan Halliday at the moment. Looks to maybe try and make a move heading in towards turn number 1. We'll have to wait and see. We saw last time out in Japan that Yannick Schmidt was not shy about going up the inside. I think he got a little bit impatient that time by. Maybe he's refined that craft heading in towards Imola now. We'll see what he can do if he gets the DRS and gets a good run on Legend Rosenberg. If he can go for that overtake, but it doesn't look like it heading in towards Tamburello, and this is just the power that the DRS train really does have. It effectively nullifies any racing that we could possibly get in this Grand Prix. And on lap number 6, Nathan, we're seeing a bit of a divide forming between the field because the top 9 have broken away from the rest of the pack. Daniel Koya seemingly is really struggling to keep up with the pace of Sergio Sobrino, as now Tycho Hardy is able to make a move on Tamas Gal through Villeneuve.
Yeah, Tamas, I think, made a big mistake coming out the Tamburello chicane, that it just gave a big advantage in top speed down towards the Villeneuve chicane for Tycho Hardy. Put himself back into P12, so now he needs to work his way back up closer to Xander Van Darken, who's about 8 tenths up the field. And then Daniel Kaya has also got to start again himself a little bit closer to the back of Sergio Sobrino. The gap's about 9 tenths of a second. And if you lose DRS around here, we know how key it is that if you don't have it, the driver behind has such an advantage, especially down towards that second corner at the Tamburello chicane. So we'll obviously, if you lose a DRS, I wouldn't be surprised if we see the likes of Xander Van Darken and Tycho Hardy get themselves closer, or at least through, on Daniel Kaya, who's sitting well in P10. He hasn't had the best season, but he hasn't had a terrible season, Daniel. He's done decent. He's been in the midfield the whole way. And yet again, a decent point. If you could get that P10, would be perfect for him in this championship, I think, at this rate.
I'm seeing Jack West at the moment. He is beginning to close up to the rear of Andrei Tarabukin, but the DRS train once again is not allowing for him to go for that move in towards turn number 1. But you can see how much he's been able to close to the back of the Alpine. We've seen already in this Grand Prix fantastic race pace from Jack West. He's been able to, oh dear,
Riano! He brakes late and takes out Matthew Alden at turn 2. And I think what happened was he had Duncan Hoffman right behind. I think he caught Mirko a little bit off guard and he broke a bit later, but that...
There's Jack.
Oh no, sorry if he caught you off, Dan, but that is not good at all.
And Jack West has gone up the inside. Drama on lap number 7, as now Jack West has been able to get ahead. His championship rival, he'll know that is now further down the order than he even started, no, all the way in 19th position. Jack West on the fringes of potentially leading this Grand Prix. He started down in 7th position, got himself up now into P2, as now Andrei Tarabukin down into 3rd. There's only one car in between Jack West and the lead of this race. He's not scored a podium since round number 3. This would be a fantastic way for Jack West to come back in this championship fight with a bang here.
Yeah, it needs to get something to work today. I think he's got the race pace, 7th to 2nd in what has been a difficult race for anyone it has seemed to get through, and anyone. So for Jack, this is key. He would like to take a win, and I think for him, the best thing to do now is stick behind Jose. Don't overtake unless he's completely overspeeding into turn 1. You can see he just sits back because he wants that DRS advantage. If you don't have DRS, you're under such a predicament in this race. So Jack is playing this well, and I think at the moment he's in the best position out of everyone for a possible victory. As I think Matthew Alder had a spin as he's 7 seconds back out of the final corner. So that's not good at all for Matthew Alder, who's, not to sugarcoat it, has had a pretty terrible season, and I don't think has scored in the points once. So big shame for Matthew Alder. Obviously on the PS, very quick, but here it seems that this season nothing's clicked with him at all.
Yeah, I was really thinking just now, actually, that Matthew Alder, a long time ago, I'm pretty sure, big season in the chat, he can correct me if I'm wrong, but Matthew Alder's a 3-time PSGL PSF1 champion, all the way back in the early 20s. You know, that was, what, F1 2017, 2018, something like that. And it really is sad to see that he's just struggled so much this season. And by the way it sounds, I mean, with the contact with Mirko Suriano, you know, it really just hasn't been his fault, but he's also just not been up to pace. So I really do hope for the best for Matthew Alder heading into the rest of this season, that he's able to recuperate and come back into this championship, you know, and score some points in this championship hunt. We'll have a look then at the front of the order, because Andrei Tarabukin is closing once again to the back of Jack West, who's not been able to surmount a challenge on Joost Noordijk heading in towards turn of 1. But you can see, as we rode on board with the McLaren driver, how much he backed off. He's happy, Nathan, to sit behind Joost for as long as possible here, and just, you know, save his resources as much as possible. Have a look at the ERS situation. Joost Noordijk 56%, Jack West only 54%. So yeah, he really does need to recharge that battery if he wants to surmount a challenge on Joost Noordijk.
He does, and I think another driver who's in a really good position is Jan Halliday. He's sitting in P5. He's, I think he scored a P4. Yeah, he did score P4 in Qatar when he went from 12th to 4th due to penalties. So he's had a P4 finish. He's currently in P5. He's got 2 Alpines ahead who will probably, if they want, help each other to defend from Jan. But I think he's got some decent pace. He's actually right on the back of Timo Zankiewicz in towards Variante Alta, but not close enough yet. So yeah, I think he's another driver who could take a good point score in here. And I think the top 5 is quite surprising, apart from Jack West.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, from my experience, I know that Joost Noordijk is an incredibly fast driver throughout all the years, and I'm glad to see that he is actually fighting in the top spots. Andrei Tarabukin is another driver that I've got a lot of experience of commentating on, who has been incredibly quick throughout you know, most of his time racing, and I've, you know, in the top tiers as well. He's made some starts, and it is good to see when he is in those tiers. Timo Zelenkovic though, and Jan Halliday, I mean, yeah, I am very surprised well, I'm pleasantly surprised, I think it's the right way to say, that we know that they have the pace. We saw in round number 1, I think, Timo Zelenkovic had a good showing, then Jan Halliday as well in Qatar with that 4th place finish. We know that these guys have got pace, but they've really lacked that refinement when it comes to a full-length Grand Prix. So I'm glad to see that they're running in the top 5 positions at the minute. There's a lot of names that also surprising me at the back of the order. I mean, Chanakinchi, Duncan Hoffman, Mirko Suriano, Max Wiesel. Those are all drivers, Nathan, that you'd expect to be fighting in those top 5 places.
Yeah, it is quite a weird grid. You've got some people who are a little bit further down who normally at the top, and you've got some people near the top who are normally a little bit further down. So a very mixed grid, which I think is key for a great race, because you get to see some people, you know, they have, well, get put under more pressure. If you're not normally in the top and near the top, the pressure is a lot more, you know, likely to be high. So we'll see how that affects drivers as the race gets on. We're on lap 10 of 32. We're going on to a lap 11 shortly, and still Joost Noordijk leads ahead of Jack West, who's 2 tenths behind. So we'll see. If Jack West is close to make a move into turn 1, he will, because he knows if he sticks behind too much, he has the likes of Andrei to just try and shoot back through and put himself into P2. As you can see, yeah, Andrei needs to go for a 3-1 into turn 1. And it is Andrei who goes to take the lead, and Jack West, just to make clinches it, Jack West takes the lead of the race, which looks like it was going to go to Andrei Tarabukin now, and it's Joost Noordijk sitting in P2, and that could have ended badly, but they made that very clean.
Yeah, I mean, 3 wide into a corner where only one driver really has that perfect line. I mean, that is bold and brave from both Jack West and Andrei Tarabukin. Well done to Joost Noordijk as well for holding his line after getting sandwiched by the pair of them. I think Jack, he just had the momentum around the outside. Andrei Tarabukin was going to have to brake a lot more. He had a very tight line in that corner, and he wouldn't have been able to make it if he broke at his normal point. That allowed for Jack West to just soar around the outside line, get that better run, and able to take the lead. Unfortunately for Andrei Tarabukin, he wasn't able to get through on Joost Noordijk, so with all that effort, he's going to sit back in P3 at the moment. Joost Noordijk going to remain in second fourth for Zelenkovic, and then Jan Haladej sitting currently in 5th. What I'm thinking though at the moment, as Yannick Schmidt is trying to get through on Legend Rosenberg, I think that the mediums are beginning to fall off ever so slightly, and now the hards are the better tyre, and now all of them coming into the pit lane at the end of lap number 10. That's going to allow for Legend Rosenberg and Yannick Schmidt to be unleashed. Of course, Zelenkovic has to stay out, so does Szymon Lekomski, who are on the medium tyres. I think actually Lekomski's just pitted out on a strategy issue, but Timo Zelenkovic, he has to stay out because he can't double stack with his teammate there. But wow, very interesting development on lap number 11.
It is, and well, they're going to take those tyres about 21 laps in this race, so that's going to be a far length to take those hards. I mean, at the end, I think we'll see the people who are now on the hards really start to gain through. But with the advantage it seems that the medium to hard has over the hard to medium, I think these guys might just about be able to hold it off as we come out the pit lane. And yeah, no much difference in position. It's Jack ahead of Joost, ahead of Andre, Jan, and then Sergio, who's in P20. Net P5, he's going to have to try and catch back up if he can into the DRS off Jan Harder. They get about 1.2 seconds, he needs to catch a couple of tenths. If he can, obviously all on 0 lap old hard tyres. We'll see probably soon Timo Zelenkovic and Szymon Lekomski pop into the pits for a set of hard tyres, and then I think still these guys on the hards can probably go to around lap 17, lap 18.
We'll have to wait and see as to how long these hards will actually last, as Zelenkovic into the pit lane, as is Szymon Lekomski. There will be no more medium runners left in this Grand Prix come the end of these pit stops. We'll have to wait and see where they emerge in comparison to the rest of the runners. Sergio Sobrino, if he is ahead of Zelenkovic, that will just show the power that the undercut has, because Sergio Sobrino was running in about 9th position before the pit stops, and now he is closing to the back of what is the net top 4. I'm wondering if he will be ahead of Zelenkovic. They're all coming down the start-finish straight. Zelenkovic just exiting the pit lane now. Joost Noordijk looking to go for a move for the net race lead. He'll soar around the outside of Jack West. Andre Tarabukin going to look up the inside, close to contact between the pair of them, but they kept it clean once again. This is great racing between the net leaders in this Grand Prix. Joost Noordijk back into P1 for the time being. Jack West has been caught napping there, and Andre Tarabukin, Jan Haladej looking for their way in, but I think that Joost Noordijk is going to be able to clear these guys by decent margin. Jack West not going to be able to retake that lead, as Sergio Sobrino has not been able to overtake Szymon Zelenkovic, who with 1 lap fresher hards has slotted in very nicely to this train.
Yeah, that was yet again another great set of battles, and these drivers doing such a good job to drive clean. And Jack West, I think, considering his position at the moment in this race, he's taken a lot of risk, and so far it's starting to pay off. But he's got to be careful he doesn't go over too much over the top, as obviously, you know, these guys are getting very aggressive. We come into a track which is very thin, and obviously if you go onto the runoff, you're most likely going to go off the track, as Yannick Schmidt takes the lead of the race ahead of Legend Rosenberg, and then Daniel Kaya in 3rd. But as I was saying, Jack West needs to be careful not to take too much risk, otherwise it could end badly, and well, could take what would be a great advantage for his championship, and it could turn into a big disadvantage, as Mirko Soriano, still in net P19, not having a great race at all. He's also 2.5 seconds back from Duncan Hoffland. I'm starting to think now, does he have any damage on that car?
I'm wondering if he went into the back of Matthew Order, then surely there's got to be some maybe form of just non-visible damage on that Ferrari. I'm completely clueless at the moment, but one thing I do know is that Mirko Soriano, this race has been a complete write-off for him. He's just got to, recuperate, get himself ready for the next Grand Prix, because this one is just completely down the toilet, unfortunately. There really is sort of no, it's sad to say, there's sort of no hope at the minute for Mirko Soriano, but something can still happen. I mean, it's still a long race to go. We're not even halfway through at this point in the Grand Prix. Anything can happen. I think anything will happen. So Mirko Soriano, Nathan, whilst it's looking bleak for him, it isn't over. There's still a long way to go in this Grand Prix. Why not stick it out here?
Yeah, well, the key thing would be right now a safety car, as Matthew Order's holding up Joost Noordijk into the final corner. Oh, a bit of a tap there from Noordijk on the back of Matthew Order in towards Ravazza 1, and then we have Ravazza 2. Now this could get very interesting. Matthew is leading them all down in towards turn 1. He's got no DRS. He's got 13 lap holder tyres, 11 lap holder tyres, and all of these guys behind. This could get very messy. Into turn 1, it's going to be Jack looking for a move on both of them. Down to turn 1, and that was very close. Jack West round the outside, as we also have Andre Tarabukin trying to get himself through. And Jack West takes the lead. No, Joost Noordijk in 2nd. Andre 3rd, and then Jan Harder also gets through Matthew Order, who surprisingly kept that clean, because that Could have ended very, very badly, but now, as we come through, Tim Zankiewicz wants to get himself ahead of the AlphaTauri up the inside, possibly into Tosa. It is up the inside for the Alpine, and Sergio Sbreno also going to be looking up the inside as well. But what that could have turned into, well, luckily went well, and Jack West now sitting 12 seconds behind his championship leader who hasn't pitted. Now that is a big shame for Mirko, and he does not want that to happen, does he?
Yeah, Jack West has got balls of steel for going for that move around the outside. Once again, I rode on board with him as he closed up to the back of Matthew Alder, almost went plain into the back of him, just narrowly missed clipping his front left end plate with the rear tyre of Matthew Alder. That was seconds, fractions of a second too late from disaster for Jack West. So he's done a fantastic job of making that move stick. He is now your net leader once again in this Grand Prix, and that is the third time in this race, Nathan, that we have seen a move go 3 wide in towards turn number 1, and they've kept it clean once again. This is incredible racing that we are seeing so far. I hope I'm not jinxing it, as now Joost Noordijk goes back up the inside to retake the net race lead of this Grand Prix. But so far, this race has been a treat to watch.
It has, and I think at the moment we're putting PCF1 to shame. The racecraft from these drivers is absolutely impeccable. Great racecraft, and everyone obviously playing it risky, but they all know, obviously, the risk they're taking, they know obviously when to back out, when to send it. They're doing a great job, and I think at the moment, well, hopefully they can keep it clean all the way to the end and we don't have any issues on the last lap. We say that now, and then we'll end up having a 10-car pile-up at the final lap. But yeah, great job from especially Joost, Jack, Andre, and also Matthew Alder, who, choreographed himself through turn 1 and 2 very, very nicely to luckily not end up spinning anyone round, considering his tyres were a lot worse off.
Yeah, that could have had big implications in this race. Messing with Joost Noordijk, Jack West and André Tarabukin could have ruined any of their Grand Prix. As now Max Wiesel on lap number 17, going to be the first of the hard runners who started on this set to come into the pit lane. Legend Rosenberg back into the lead of the Grand Prix, approaching turn number 1. Daniel Coyers also looking into this fight. He was a few cars off the back of these guys. I think he was running like in 11th position, whilst these guys were in 7th and 8th. He's done a good job to catch up to these guys. Now Jack West and Joost Noordijk once again swap for the net race lead of this Grand Prix. Max Wiesel on the medium tyres, as now Duncan Hoffman and Chan Akinci have had a little bit of a brush there. I think Akinci's been sent slightly wide by a move potentially by Duncan Hoffman. Is that right, Nathan?
Yeah, that was, I think mainly down to the contact model. There wasn't much of a contact between Duncan and Chan, but Chan got completely pushed off the track. So, yeah, the game model obviously not being the most ideal again, but still not at all good from Duncan Hoffland. A little bit dirty, but we'll see, it's one of them. We'll see what happens. As we come through in towards Aqua Minerale, Jan Harday on the back of André Tarabukin, currently looking for that provisional P3 spot. As we head down into the Variante Alta, not close enough just yet to get himself ahead. But obviously, if you remember, in challenges on the 2022 game, Jan Harday did take a podium here at Imola, so he's got obviously some good experience around here, and he's got some history of good results, so hopefully for him he can take a podium here in PSGL F2, and, well, hopefully for him start to get some more points and close himself in on, I believe, probably would be a good top 5, top 6 in the championship, I think, if he can keep these results up.
Most of the hard runners then coming into the pit lane at the end of lap number 17. Here's Joost Noordijk going for the move once again in towards turn number 1. Jack West is happy to swap with Joost Noordijk every single lap, and they're taking turns leading this Grand Prix, probably to the frustration of André Tarabukin, because he really can't get a nose in here. But now Legend Rosenberg, Yannick Schmidt, Max Wiesel, Tycho Hardy, Tamas Gowan, Valentino Labella, they are all on fresh hard tyres, and they are not fresh medium tyres. They're going to have a lot more grip than these worn out hards. However, they've got a lot of time to make up. They've got to navigate themselves past Matthew Alder and then close to the back of Sabrino, Lukomski and Timo Zelenkovic, and then they can finally fight for the race leader. It's certainly going to be a challenge for these medium runners to catch up to Joost, Jack and Andre. However, it is definitely possible. Nathan, as we approach past the halfway point of this Grand Prix, I think is going to get very interesting from this point onwards.
It will, and I think if anyone can try and get themselves closer up to this gap and gain 7 seconds on the pack ahead, it will be Legend and Yannick. Very quick drivers in the race pace, and still trying to get themselves ahead of Matthew Alder, who obviously caused a bit of disruption down at turn 2 on the last occasion. Legend went from around the outside, and Matthew blocked that one off. So now we'll come out of the final couple of corners at Ravatsa, as you can see a few more people pitting onto medium compound of tyres. Now it's Legend Roseberg around the outside, gets himself ahead of Matthew Alder. Yannick Schmidt also does the same. I think we'll also see Max Wiesel also do the same to put himself into P7-16, and then also Togo Hardy a little bit too further back at the moment. His teammate just going at the pit lane as we head into turn 2 at the Tamburello chicane. It is Yannick Schmidt now right behind Legend Roseberg. They've got a 6.8 second gap to Sergio Sobrino, so we're all in all about an 8-9 second gap probably to the lead, which is Jack West at the moment. This is going to be a big challenge, but it can pay off heavily to make it work, because Legend Roseberg is 6.5 tenths upon his previous best. So these mediums looking very good at the start of their stint at the moment for Legend and Yannick.
Yeah, Legend, he's purple in Sector 1 at the moment, so he's well on his way to getting the fastest lap of this Grand Prix. We've got a McLaren leading the hard runners and a McLaren leading the medium runners. And if it goes either way, I think McLaren going to be a very happy team, as Jack West has been able to get through on Jost Nordijk once again last time by turn number 1, and I expect them to swap once again, as now finally Duncan Hoffman, Zana Van Dijk and Chana Kinchi, and I think Mirko Soriano will be coming into the pit lane at the end of this Grand Prix, which will allow for the net leaders to finally lead this race, as now actually Mirko is going to stay out for another lap here. Here comes Jost Nordijk in towards turn number 1. He'll get himself through on Jack West, and he'll take the lead on lap number 20. We've got 13 laps left to go in this race, as now Legend Roseberg sets the fastest lap. He's well on his way to catching these guys, as now actually Yannick Schmidt seizes his opportunity, goes up the inside, but the gap is still 5.9 seconds to the back of the hard runners, so they're not gaining as much as they would really like to at this point, Nathan, but it's still a long way to go in this Grand Prix, and I think the medium runners, they've got their work cut out for them, but I think once they get onto the back of those guys, it is going to be decent running, as now Matthew Alders had another incident down at Villeneuve.
Yes, and he's lost no, he's not lost any part of his front wing. It's really hard to tell because the ground the AlphaTauri front wing gets blocked off by the wheel, so I couldn't see if there was any damage, but yeah. No visible damage we see. Not good at all for Matthew Alders. Still down in 20th, 19 lap old tyres. Obviously, that is pretty much his race done and dusted. John Halliday gets a 3-second time penalty along with Sergio Sobrino. No, that is not good at all, and I believe that would have been caught down at the chicane.
I think what's happened there is we've seen Sergio Sobrino get his penalty for multiple warnings, but we saw Jan Halliday get his for corner cutting. I think something's happened, possibly between Halliday and Zelenkovic, or maybe Halliday and Tarabukin, one of the Alpines, and Halliday has cut Variante Alta, and he's got himself a 3-second time penalty straight up for it, as now Jack West moves once again into the lead of the Grand Prix. That is definitely something I think the stewards are going to be looking at after this Grand Prix, as more penalties are beginning to come out, more moves are being made, as now Yannick Schmidt, he's 4 seconds off the rear of Sergio Sobrino, his teammate this evening. That is a 2-second gain in the span of 1 lap.
I'm currently watching Lukomski trying to get through on Zelenkiewicz. Zelenkiewicz doing some great defending down at Tosa. And you can see Lukomski got a lot of pace, can't get himself through on Tima as we head through towards Piratella, and then down the little bit of a hill in towards the Aquaminirali at the uphill section. Jost Nordijk still sitting about 1.5 heads back from Jack West. Of course, this is for the race lead. Mirko Soriano, who's taken the lead of the race, unfortunately, isn't fighting for the lead. He's still staying out on his tyres, and I believe it was more of a hope of a late safety car coming in to help him, but at the moment it doesn't seem like that's likely. And, well, very shortly, Jack West is going to catch up to Mirko Soriano, so he will be. Yeah, it's not good at all, is it, for Mirko? And this is going to be a big shame if Jack does overtake him. You know, it's it's going to be a big shame, isn't it, for Mirko indeed?
Yeah, I think that'll be rubbing salt into the wounds, you know, getting lapped. Actually, no, sorry, he's not getting lapped in this race. He is just getting overtaken. But there is Jost Nordijk, once again, going for the move for the net lead of this Grand Prix. Mirko Soriano, 1.1 seconds ahead of these guys. I'm hoping that Soriano does his best to get out of the way. Of course, there is championship implications at this point. If it stays as they are, Jack West will take the championship lead by a decent amount. I think it'll be about 4 or 5 points clear of Soriano after this race if he finishes in P2, and that'll be even bigger if he wins this race. So I'm hoping Soriano doesn't do anything a bit shady to sort of, you know, impede Jack West, as now he's heading through Piratella and he's a little bit shaky. Those hards definitely not in good condition whatsoever. 21 laps on this set. He's been on them since the beginning of the Grand Prix. He's got to think about coming into the pits very soon, as now Jost Nordijk heading in towards Variante Alta, getting so close to the rear of Mirko Soriano. We'll see what he can do as they approach Rabatza 1 and 2.
Yeah, but look how quick that's put Yannick Schmidt into it. He's now within a second of Sergio Sobrino. These medium tyres are working well. As now Jack West goes for a move for the provisional lead into order of that. Someone gets himself ahead of Jost Nordijk. Now he needs to get ahead of Mirko Soriano. 6/10 is the gap. It's DRS and DRS are usable for Jack West. But Jost is going to try and fight back, but he's not close enough to Andrei Tarabukin. He's also going to get himself involved, but I don't think it's enough. And I don't think Jack is close enough to Mirko Soriano into turn 2. No, he's not. He has to sit behind for now. And that's at 2.5 tenths. Now, hopefully, Mirko moves out the way, but I don't know if he'll fight it as we head down. And he will try and defend from Jack West in towards the Villeneuve chicane. And still, Mirko Soriano holding off, and Jack a bit of a contact there into the rear. And now this could be interesting up in towards Tosa, and Jack West will go for the lead. Mirko's going to try and fight him back, but nothing he can do. Jack West is your leader, and then Jost Nordijk into P2.
Yep, that is for position there, so Mirko Soriano is well within his rights to defend that position, but it is not enough in the end, as now Jack West is going to be able to get himself ahead and into the lead of this Grand Prix. Mirko Soriano will be sent tumbling down the order after this now. Yannick Schmidt well within this train. He's on the back of Timur Zelenkovic for P7. He's got through on his teammate of Sergio Sobrino on this previous lap. And now Legend Rosenberg down the inside of Variante Alte. He has to go off the circuit. 2 into 1 does not go, and he's going to be able to keep his position ahead of the Williams driver, but that is a little bit touch and go as to whether that is actually a legal move. Jan Haladej is able to get through on Mirko Soriano, and we're going to see what happens heading down in towards turn number 1. Mirko, he peels off to the right hand side, and finally on lap number 24 he is going to come in to the pit lane for a fresh set of boots. Here comes Jost Nordijk once again for the lead of the Grand Prix. These guys have swapped every single lap for about the past 10, 11 laps in this Grand Prix. Meanwhile, further back behind, Yannick Schmidt, another move made. That's P6 for him.
Yeah, then Yannick Schmidt, I think, is in a very good position to try and fight for a podium, if not fight for a win. You can see how much more pace he's got, how much more grip he's got in that car. As he gets a penalty! Yannick Schmidt now with a 3-second penalty after going a little bit wide at the exit of Villeneuve. Now, on these medium tyres, it's all down to Legend Rosenberg sitting right behind Timur Zelenkovic, currently in P8, looking for a net P5 due to the penalties for Yannick and Timur. So we obviously want to get himself through on these guys very quickly. A little bit wide there from Timur, literally pushes him through the corner at that rate. As we head into Aqua Minerale, still sitting right behind as we come through. And also Tycho Hardy also on a set of medium, trying to get himself ahead of these hard tyre runners in towards Variante Alta. No way through for Legend Rosenberg just about yet, but you can see a lot more pace. He's lost to 1 second now. Yannick Schmidt has Timur Zelenkovic, which is 1.2 seconds between those two. So now it's key that Legend and Tycho pass the hard runner of Timur Zelenkovic to get themselves hopefully back into that DRS train in the top 6.
I think now the tides are beginning to turn. I think the medium to hard strategy seems to be optimal here, as now Jan Haladej with a penalty to his name is going to look for a move for P3 in this Grand Prix. Up ahead, Jack West once again gets through on Jost Nordijk side by side in towards turn number 1 between Andrei Tarabukin and Jan Haladej, almost off the circuit, but they're going to run wheel to wheel through the first sector in towards Villeneuve. Now Andrei Tarabukin with a slight edge heading off the exit through there. It's allowing for Yannick Schmidt to close up to these guys, and now in towards Toes. We've got a yellow flag down in sector 1. That is Timur Zelenkovic, who's unfortunately I think just been swallowed up by the pack. Yannick Schmidt up the inside of Jan Haladej through Tosa, but he's not able to make the move this time. By now a gap has been formed between the two leaders and the rest of the pack. Andrei Tarabukin, he's almost lost DRS to the two leaders here. As on lap number 25, this race is just beginning to heat up, Nathan.
It is, and we've also got Max Wiesel and Daniel Coyle and Tamas Galand Valentin all catching up to each other, trying to make moves, because Legend's creating a bit of a roadblock now. He's not gaining as much as he would like onto the back of Lekomsky, as just gets himself into the 1 second. But Legend, I think in this whole train, seems like the slowest driver at the moment, so this isn't good at all for lots of Tycho, Max, Daniel, Tamas and Valentino, who are all trying to get themselves from positions. And I keep getting an issue with my audio, which isn't ideal. But back to the racing. It is going to be Yannick Schmidt trying to gain himself onto the back of Jan Haladej, with a penalty, of course, will drop back 3 seconds in this race. And that's Van Dyken out. Oh,
safety car.
Safety car.
Oh, well, someone said it in the live chat. Will Gibson says there. Oh, it says there was a late safety car. There's a late safety car now. Safety car has been deployed after contact between Zander Van Dyken and I guess Sergio Sobrino. Something's happened there. These guys dived into the pit lane straight away. They're fitting on the softs. I think that's the smart thing to do here, because everyone essentially at this point now has a free pit stop. Oh Nathan, what do you do here? I mean, you can stay out on the set of tyres that you're on and then be in a decent place, or you can gamble, go for the soft, be quicker than everyone else, and try and make those moves. It is really a coin flip as to what you decide. This brings Matthew Alder and Mirko Soriano as well back into this Grand Prix. I mean, pandemonium. Lap number 26, the safety car has been deployed, and I think that might actually be the first one this season.
I think then surely they have to pit, because you can't risk it. Those softs will be so much quicker than the mediums and the hards. So yeah, I think the leader's going to have to pit, and if they don't, that could prove into quite heavy compromisation on the final couple of laps. The safety car will go in a rain probably laps 28, so we'll have 4 laps of racing. It's a close one. I'd pit, but we'll see what Jack West decides to do. Does he pit?
Yeah.
Yes, he does. Does anyone say it? That's the question. I don't think anyone will at this point. There's no point is staying out at this rate.
That is hurtful for the likes of Legend Rosenberg and Daniel Coyer, Ben Chaberconyi, who are all... Someone stayed out. Ben Chaberconyi's decided to stay out, as has Duncan Hoffland. Those guys are going to be completely trounced by everyone else who is fitting fresh sets of softs. Jack West going to emerge now in P3 behind Ben Chaberconyi and Duncan Hoffland. Everyone has come into the pit lane. Lots of guys have had to, unfortunately, box behind their teammate. Legend Rosenberg has now lost a number of places. He was running in and around that top six position. Now he's down to 11th, unfortunately, due to that, having to pit behind Jack West. Now with the safety car being out on track, Ben Chaberconyi is your leader, Duncan Hoffland second, Jack West on fresh softs in third.
Right, this could be very interesting, and I think for Jack West's sake of winning, he needs to clear Benson Duncan as quick as possible, and hopefully for his sake, Joost can't get through, because they will be so much slower than these soft tyres. So I think we're going to have a great finish, and with Benson Duncan obviously on those 8 and 7 lap old mediums compared to everyone else on new softs. Yeah, it could go anyway. It could maybe work in the fact that Benson Duncan can defend. If they can't, then we can see them completely be pummeled through the field, and maybe other drivers unfortunately get caught up in that as well. So yeah, I think we're going for a great final few laps, but the issue that we have is for Jan and Yannick. With their penalties, the grid is even more closer than it was before, so they're going to drop outside the points at this rate, which is a big shame for them, because they've done such a good job in this race. Yannick especially, obviously, with that different strategy to everyone else, was looking at one point for a podium, but obviously got that penalty, and then the safety car came out.
Yeah, they can appeal to the stewards, which is a little bit of a lifeline to those guys, that they could, they're still within the fight at the minute, so we can't, count them out of this Grand Prix. But for the time being, we're going to have to think about Jack West, Joost Noordijk, and Ritter Buchan. I think those are the three who are going to be fighting for the win of this race. And it just felt like, Nathan, throughout the entirety of this race, even though Andre's been in that top 3 fight, Joost Noordijk and Jack West, they've had the edge on him. So I think it's going to come down to these two at the end of the Grand Prix, and how quickly as well they navigate through Ben Chaberconyi and Duncan Hoffland.
Yeah, I think Andre Trabuchan is one who would definitely want a podium. He obviously scored a podium in Brazil in the first round, but apart from that, he's not really achieved much at all in any of the races. So another podium for him would be very good. Obviously, Jack and Joost. Jack has obviously got multiple. I think he's got a podium of first, second, and third, and hasn't scored one since round 3 or 4. Joost, I don't think has scored a podium at all this season. I don't think he's got that many points to his name either. So for any of these three, this is well deserved. And also, obviously, with Mirko now in P17. With about 3 laps of racing to go, he's not going to have much of a chance at all of taking any points in this race. So if Jack can win it, yeah, they still give him about an 8-point lead in the championship, which would be key for him, very key for him in this championship, considering at one point we're thinking, oh no, he's not getting any podiums, he's starting to drop back a little.
Yeah, I mean, wow. Sorry, I'm losing my words at this point. I mean, I'm just really excited to see how this race ends. It's a minimum of 2 laps under safety car. Normally when they get into the third sector, that's when they get the call from race control that the safety car is coming in. But I think, no, we're going to get going this lap. Okay, Ben Chaberconyi leading this race ahead of Duncan Hoffland. These guys have not pitted for a set of the fresh soft compounded tyres. Everyone else behind them has decided to box for the softs, and they're going to be so much quicker right out of the gates, as now it is up to Ben Chaberconyi to dictate the pace, control the start. He can go when he wants. The safety car will be coming in here, and we'll see what happens. As now through Avatsa 1 and 2. When is Ben Abercrombie going to pull the trigger and bite the bullet and go? Once he goes, he has to keep his foot down. He can't start and stop as he's weaving, trying to get some temperature back into these medium tyres. He's going to put his foot down now, and we are back green racing here in Imola. Lap number 29 of 32, and immediately Jack West and Joost Noordijk going to try and apply the pressure to both Duncan Hoffland and Abercrombie heading in towards turn number 1. Up ahead, Duncan Hoffland going to look towards the outside of the Red Bull, heading in towards the first few corners at Tamburello, in towards sector 1. Oh, so close to contact between Jack West and Duncan Hoffland. Here's Andrei Tarabukin up the inside of Joost Noordijk in towards Villeneuve. Contact between the pair of them, but in towards Tosa they go. Jack West trying to go around the outside of Duncan Hoffland through turn number 7. The hairpin corner as he made the move sick. He's got the fresher soft compound of tyres, and he's into P2.
And he's now going for a move for the lead on Ben Abercrombie through towards Piratella. He can't get through there. He's going to have to go for it to maybe in towards Aqua Minerale. He's a little bit close, but it's not close enough in towards this corner. Maybe he can shape it up in towards the Variante Alta. Great exit there from Jack West. He's going up the inside on Ben Abercrombie, who's defending profusely. I don't even know what that word was. As we head down in towards this next corner. Not close enough just yet. And Bent is doing a great job to defend as we head through. Many people behind making overtakes. Joost Noordijk looking for a move onto Duncan Hoffland. Can't get himself through just yet, but now Jack West has got to get Ben Abercrombie into turn 1, otherwise he's got to be careful of Joost Noordijk getting through and Duncan, and also trying to get through on himself.
Yep, on towards now lap number 13. No DRS until 2 laps after the safety car has been brought back in. Here comes Jack West retaking the lead of this race. Where's Joost Noordijk going to file into this fight? He just can't get through. Duncan Hoffland doing a stellar job of keeping him behind. He's actually going on the attack of Ben Abercrombie, but now in towards sector 1. He's going to get a fantastic run on the back of the Aston Martin in towards Villeneuve. He just can't do it. He's not got the run through here, and now Jack West's going to be able to streak up the road. Joost Noordijk's got to go for a brave move, potentially around the outside, maybe on the switch back off the exit of Tosa corner, but it's just not enough. He can't do it, and now Jack West has cleared Abercrombie by over a second. He's broken that DRS range. Joost Noordijk has been blockaded by these two.
It is key for Jack West now. He needs to keep it calm. He's got a 1.3 second gap. This one is pretty much guaranteed as long as he doesn't make a mistake. You can see Andrei Tarabukin also on the back of Joost Noordijk, because Joost Noordijk still got to remember Duncan Hoffland can't get away through. Duncan and Benson doing a great job to defend. If they could get a podium, would be such a great result for them as we come out of Variante Alta down in towards the two Ravazzas now. And still, Joost Noordijk isn't close enough yet, and he's still trying to get a move, but he can't make it. And these tyres as we go through will start to die off, and this advantage will start to pull away from Joost Noordijk. He's got a good run out of the final corner up towards turn 2 at the Tamburello chicane. Jack West takes the fastest lap. This will give him an extra point as well as Duncan Hoffland goes for second place down in towards the Tamburello chicane. Does he take second place? Yes, he does. And Joost still not close enough to Ben Abercrombie. He nearly goes round through in towards the chicane, and now it's Andrei Tarabukin's turn to try and get himself through. He can't make a move either, and now they're kind of all stuck in position.
Yep, 2 laps to go in this race. The win is all but confirmed for Jack West, as now Joost Noordijk up the inside at turn number 7. Can he finally make the move stick on Ben Abercrombie off the exit of the hairpin? He's finally going to get himself back onto the podium as Andrei Tarabukin in towards Piratella, going to send up the inside as well. Abercrombie off the circuit, and he's going to be sent tumbling down the order now, down into P6. He's going to get swallowed up by everyone else, but Duncan Hoffland still keeping it clean. He's still fighting for P2 in this race. I'm losing my voice at this point, but now they're coming up towards 1 to go. Jack West 2.6 seconds ahead. Duncan Hoffland fighting for his life.
And all it took was that one move for Benz to now drop down to P7 and be under more pressure from Lukomski in toward Ravazza 1. Up the inside, Sam Lukomski takes into P7, a big slide, but still keeps it ahead. And now Benz is dropping all the way through it and could even lose points, whereas Duncan Hoffland on the same tyres is now looking to fight for a podium. Up the inside now, Joost Noordijk takes P2 away. Can Andrei Tarabukin also go for a move in towards this first corner? I'm thinking, well, can he get it on Joost Noordijk into turn 2? It's round the outside. Joost breaks later. He can't get through. Jan Halliday into P4. Duncan Hoffland now into P5 and under pressure from Yannick Schmidt, who's also got a penalty, which would have been such a shame as now Jan Halliday looking for a move round the outside in towards the Villeneuve chicane. He can't get himself through. And Andrei Tarabukin can look for a podium, but still Jack West leads by 3 seconds.
The best racing in the world is right here in PSGL F2, and they're still fighting on the final lap. Szymon Lukomski's going to try and make the move stick on Duncan Hoffland. Let's have a look at Jan Halliday and Andrei Tarabukin as they fight in towards Aqua Minerali, but I just don't think he's going to be able to make the move stick. Mac Wiesel with a 3-second time penalty off the exit of Piratella corner. His day is done and dusted, but now in towards Variante Alta for the final time. Will Jan Halliday try and put the fight on for the podium? It just doesn't look possible at this point. We'll flick the camera over to Jack West, who took advantage of the situation he was handed, as now through the final two corners off the exit of Ravazza 2 for the final time. The McLaren is going to take victory here in Imola. Jack West back on the top step of the podium. Joost Noordijk is going to finish in P2. Andrei Tarabukin in third, as now after penalties Lekomski's coming fourth. Fifth for Tycho Hardy. Duncan Hoffland, what a strategy call from him, but I think maybe it wasn't down to the strategy. It was just his driving prowess and his defending that kept him in that position. Tamas Gal finishes in 7th, 8th for Daniel Koy. Jan Halliday after his penalty in 9th, and after Yannick Schmidt's penalty, he'll finish in 10th. But wow, what a finish. Jack West taking victory by 2.6 seconds after a close fight with Joost Noordijk throughout the entirety of this Grand Prix. What an ending.
Speechless. It was an absolutely great ending. For me, probably the best ending I think we've had this season. Okay. Every single corner there's someone making a move, and especially with obviously Duncan and Bent on those different tyres completely changed the ending of the race. And I think you can say yes, it was a fact that stayed on those tyres and it works, but look at the difference. Duncan P6, Ben Savakonyi P14. I think that is down to drivability and drivability alone. Great job from Duncan to take a P6 in which was looking like a really poor race. He started 18th and he's in the top 6. He's now going to get himself a little bit closer to Mirko Soriano, who's on, 63 points. Jack West is going to take 16 from this race, so he'll be on, I think, about 70. So he'll lead by about 8 points in this championship. And now the championship battle really is on, and Jack West, after falling back by 8 points, he's now going to take the lead by 8 points. After watch it, great victory. Actually, he'll be 9 points because he got the fastest lap.
I hazard to say, Nathan, this is race of the season.
Yes.
I hands down, it might not have been the most chaotic or the most exciting in the world, but that was the cleanest race that I've seen in F2 in such a long time. Honestly, I remember being a part of F2 back in season 30. It wasn't as clean as this. This was an incredible race to watch. It was so fun to see. It got hairy at some points. We had a late safety car. But all in all, it was an incredibly fun Grand Prix to watch, and I think that is the main thing this evening. Jack West taking victory here this evening. I mean, what a race from him. Back on the top step of the podium, he came across the line, spinning out. I was terrified that he had another wheel failure like he did in Qatar, but luckily it wasn't that. So yeah. I mean, Joost Noordijk in second, third Rando Tarabukin. Szymon Lekomski starting 8th, finishes in 4th. Tycho Hardy gets himself into 5th. 6th for Duncan Hoffland from starting in 18th position. He's got to be driver of the day with that questionable strategy call, which worked out brilliantly for him. Tamas Gal in 7th, 8th for Daniel Koy, 9th is Jan Halliday. Rounding out the top 10 is Yannick Schmidt. After being almost lapped in this Grand Prix, Matthew Alder finishes in 11th, 12th for Mirko Soriano, Valentino Labella in 13th, 14th for Ben Savakonyi, after unfortunately the mediums gamble did not work out for him, Sergio Sabrino in 15th, Max Wiesel 16th, 17th for Chanakinchi. I think Legend Rosenberg had a spin somewhere along the way. He's in 18th, and rounding out the finishers is Timur Zelenkovic in 19th. Xander Van Dyken, unfortunately the only DNF in this race, and for the first time in ages, Nathan, I can bring us back to the commentary box because we didn't have a restart. This is the first race we've had a restart, and it's been we haven't had a restart, and it's been one of the cleanest Grand Prix this season. I think there's got to be some kind of correlation there.
Well, I think the F1 guys need to come here and have a little look at this race so they can learn how to race properly, because that was, hands down, the cleanest race we've had so far, and I think in a long time the cleanest race I've ever commentated on. It was right. Yes, there was a few issues here and there, but there has always been incidents. Every single game, there's been people having incidents. That's normal. It's part of racing. But I think in general the cleanliness of this race was great, especially down to that first sector. We've got people going 3 wide in towards turn 1/2, whatever you want to call it, and every time it was clean. Multiple times we had people on slower tyres being overtaken through there in such a close high-speed section, being passed cleanly and without people spinning round. So I think that is also another reason why we can see great racing, because you consider like Matthew Alder, who at one point is on the worst side. You think, oh, he's going to get punted off because he's slower, people are going to just punt past him. No, it worked. Not as good as it could have been, but he still come home and took P11 because he didn't get taken out, which probably would have happened beforehand. So great racecraft from everyone in this lobby, and yeah, I think yet again the championship takes a turn, and Jack West is now the one who's tried to defend this this championship against Mirko Soriano, who yet again had a poor start, but still only 2 positions away from a point.
Yeah, you got to feel for Mirko. It really just wasn't his day. He was unfortunately just off the pace, I think, and he struggled in the wet. Couldn't make the moves in the dry. He's just got to, he's got to recuperate, come back stronger next time, and hopefully we can have a really competitive championship fight heading into the next few rounds of this season. But one thing, Nathan, I'm also very pleased to see is that we have all 3 podium sitters in the interview room. I'll bring us over to that now, and then I will drag in all of these guys because I mean, wow, what a race we've seen between these 3. We were talking about, Nathan, that these 3 were just cut above the rest. The podium finishers. We'll talk to Andrei Tarabukin first. Andrei, can you hear me?
Yeah, I can.
Okay, wonderful. So heading into this race, you started on pole position. Talk us through your lap there.
Cow flew through my window. I had 1 million seconds in first corner. So lap was not ideal. I think everyone had not ideal lap because no one practiced rain this game, I think, because no TT rain. But still, I think for 2 hours of preparation only for this track, I think it was. I didn't expect this, but wet quali was 100% my chance to get good points because, again, no practice, no quali pace in dry conditions. So. Yeah, quali was good, and then in a race, I think if we go through all races in PSGL, WR, in top tires, no one win from pole positions this season, most likely, because no one wants to lead. DRS is so powerful, ERS so powerful, Slipstream is overpowerful. So, yeah, I managed the race behind Just for now, then Jack overtook me. And I was like P3 for all the entire race. At the end, it was a bit nervous, with Duncan and Mince staying out. But it was interesting. It was funny at least.
And of course, you spent most of this race running in and about that 3rd position before the safety car came out, which completely flipped this race on its head. What was your strategy to try and overtake Joost Noordijk and Jack West?
My strategy was to hold up on P3 because medium runners was right behind me, and yeah, I think a safety car helped me a bit in this race.
Absolutely. And heading into Belgium next week, how are you feeling around that track?
I hate this track. I don't want to practice it, and I will be not at home for like 3-4 days.
Oh.
Like I will be on LAN in another city. So, yeah, we'll see what will be in Belgium. But after P3, I expect another DNF from me.
Well, you said you did 2 hours practice today, and you're going to be limited on practice in Belgium. So who knows? We could have another strong performance from you.
I will pray for rain again.
Well, I'll let you get away and enjoy that podium. But yeah, really well done this evening. Nathan, anything you want to say to Andrei here?
I've got no questions, but just well done, Andrei. Nice to see you back on the podium again.
Yeah, thank you. Bye, guys.
Bye.
See ya.
Thank you, Andrei, for joining us in the interview room. We'll move on to the man who finished in 2nd position. Nathan, you want to talk to Joost here?
Yes, of course. Joost, can you hear us?
Yes.
So, welcome in. Great job on the P2. Qualifying was nice as well. Talk us through that whole race. How did it go?
Yeah, after qualifying was quite surprisingly that I was 2nd, to be fair, because I didn't know I was quick in the rain. It was my first quali in the rain on this game, I think. So I was quite surprising, but yeah, good feeling. And in the race, I was just swapping with Jack West all the time to keep the pace very high, so the medium runners couldn't catch up to us. So that was quite good for us. And yeah, the safety car didn't really help me, to be fair.
Yeah, and also with the fact of how clean it was, what's your thoughts of that? Actually having a really clean race between drivers at the top in such a difficult track to race at.
Yeah, it was very clean. I just didn't have any accidents or something, and also with the all medium runners after the safety car, you can dive it from 310s, but I think if you do that, then only you can just pray for something good. But at the most times, it goes very very wrong. So
Yeah, next week we're off to Spa, so do you think you can try and get another P2 there?
I don't know. I actually don't know. I'm going for it, of course. Now I'm going for first, of course, but I just have to practice and see what the pace will be.
Yeah, nice one. Anything from you, Dan?
No questions from me, Joost, but really well done on
Thank
this podium. I've been saying it's a long time coming for the most part of this championship. Of course, we've got a lot of history together in league racing. I've secretly been rooting for you throughout the entirety of this championship. So it's great to see that finally you're on the podium.
Thank you, thank you.
We'll let you get away and enjoy that one there, and we can talk to our race winner, Jack. Can you hear me?
Yeah, hello.
All right, wonderful. So coming into this one, qualifying didn't quite go according to plan. You started down in 7th position. How did that affect your strategy coming to this race?
I mean, when I saw it was rail, I was quite happy. I mean, this was probably my worst track on raw pace going into this. So, I was kind of thinking about it as a damage limitation race with Joe and Savloke not really racing this week. But I saw it was rain and I thought this could be a good chance for me to qualify highly and hopefully, because it's wet, it, promises mistakes. So, I was quite confident. Made a little mistake on my last run in qualifying, cost me a few temps, but, 7th, and I saw Mirko Soriano side really far down the order. So, I still had, the confidence was still really high because I could gain some points. I think I managed the first stint really well, made some really crucial overtakes to get into P2. I think that was, was one of my better drives today, really, especially the first stint made clean overtakes on a few cars to get into P2. Swapped with Joost most of the race. I mean, he's very smart, so, I think we both had the same mindset. We pitted quite early to try and get as big of an undercut as we could to the hard medium strategy. And, I think we really played it very well. It didn't really help. Mirko Soriano held us up from a pit stop back. I think that cost us quite a few seconds and maybe trying to help the hard medium guys to try and lose me some points. But, at the end of the day, it's a really good race for me because Mirko has not scored any points. Joseph Lokas obviously got 0 points. He's not here, and I've taken the win and fastest lap.
Yeah, absolutely. So it's maximum points for you today, and sorry, I'm losing my words. You were fighting for the lead throughout the entirety of it, but coming into the final few laps when the safety car was brought out, what was your initial reaction there?
I was worried because, first of all, Joost and Ben Sabo are in the same team in RNG, and Duncan's good friends with Joost, so I thought this is going to be a bit of a tough race, and Duncan was a little bit slow, obviously trying to defend on those old medium tyres, thinking he's helping Joost. Made quite a nice move on him, but, I was expecting Duncan to pull straight out of the way, but he didn't, which was quite handy, because as soon as I got past Ben Sabo, I had the tyre advantage then to just pull away for the rest of the race.
Yeah, now with this win, you're leading the championship by about 9 points in this one. How's it feel to be ahead of Mirko Soriano heading in towards Belgium?
I know. I feel like through this season, I've had a bit of bad luck in this season. I think I could definitely got better results, especially races like Qatar with the wheel disconnect and the virtual safety car at Japan ruined the strategy. But there's still quite a lot of races left to go in the season, so I've just got to keep my head down, keep doing what I'm doing.
Well, really well done in this race. Before we let you go, Nathan, anything from you?
Just well done, Jack. Yet again, another victory, and hopefully you can try and still try and edge out Mirko in that championship lead.
Thanks.
Well, thank you then, Jack, for joining us in the commentary box. It's good to see you back here. It's been a few races since you scored a podium, so it is really lovely to hear from you once again. And we hope to hear from you next time out in Belgium.
Thanks.
Right, that brings us to the end of the interviews. And Nathan, I mean, in the last... Sorry, I'll bring us back over to the intermission scene. This stream today, everything seems to have gone almost perfectly. We didn't have any delays. We started pretty much on the dot at 8 o'clock. It was 8:02 that we started at BST. Then we didn't have any restart. We got a fantastic clean race, and then we had all 3 podium sitters come into the interview room. I mean, this stream today been completely blessed.
I think it comes to something when we can say my camera not being on is the only bad thing we've had. It was impeccable. Everything went well, I think, and went to plan. So yeah, I think it'd be nice to have more races like this, and I think it shows for me there was more enjoyment with it. Obviously, the stream running smooth and the game, being a lot more clean with the drivers. I think for me that is something which makes it a lot more enjoyable to commentate over instead of people sending left, right, and centre, taking people off track, stuff like that. I lose the enthusiasm for commentating on that race, but here today it was getting better and better near the end. There was a little incident here and there, which is normal, but on a whole it was really clean. And yeah, it's something hopefully we can see in the future. We're at Spa next, so I don't know if it'll go as clean there because we see a lot of silly moves, especially towards Les Combes, with it being such a quick section of track.
Yeah, I think we'll try. We'll try and avoid that for the time being and just talk about the positives that we've got now, because I mean Belgium, it is a circuit where a lot of guys like to go for some rash moves with along that DRS straight. Maximum top speed you can actually almost have on a Formula 1 car, so it is very, very tempting to go for some lurching moves up the inside, and they don't always end well. But yeah, we'll try and steer clear from that from the time being, because I want to mention, I think the real winner, Nathan, this evening is PSGL on the whole, because this is the precedent that we want to set for league racing standards. I know that in the last few weeks, and both in F1 and F2 and in other leagues as well, driving standards have been a massive issue on this F1 23 game, and tonight they really did step it up. It was so incredibly fun to commentate on. It wasn't completely clean, and that is a part of racing, but we saw fair racing throughout the entirety of it, and it was just so incredibly fun to witness. And I'm glad that me and you, Nathan, yourself and I, we got to bring that race to the viewers this evening.
Yeah, it was great, and I think hopefully Connor will clip some of the stuff and chuck it on YouTube to show that, despite all the bad things that happen, we have great racing still, and these drivers, even though they're not at the top of esports, they're still able to bring us great racing, and it was great to be able to commentate on this race. So it has genuinely been probably my favourite race this game because of how clean it was. And obviously thank you to everyone who's been in the chat throughout the race, obviously supporting, I've seen a lot of people supporting Jack in the chat, and also Andre. So obviously thank you to everyone, and obviously thanks to everyone who support us, and considering the bad things that happened in the issue weeks, you still turn up to watch the racing, which is awesome. It's awesome to see.
And I completely echo that. I mean, it's just incredibly great to see all the support in the live chat for all the drivers. It's also nice to see sometimes the support for myself and Nathan. Of course, people tune in for the good racing, but it is nice to see that we get appreciated for our efforts as well. So thank you everyone very much for giving us that support. I believe that is all, though, that we have to talk about here in PSGL, here in F2. I mean, it was a great race this evening. Round number 7 has come and gone. Next time we head to Belgium, the circuit de Spa-Francorchamps, one of the most historic circuits on the F1 calendar. Make sure you tune in next time out, 8 PM next Thursday. But for now, that is all. Thank you everyone so much for watching. If you haven't already, please do subscribe to the PSGL YouTube channel and leave a like on the stream. As well as that, you can follow us on Instagram and Twitter. The tag is at PremierSimGL. And if you want to keep up to date with all your PSGL news, you can join our Discord server. The link is in the description. Thank you to our wonderful sponsors at GT Omega. Unfortunately, it's only my chair that we get to show off this evening. Hopefully Nathan next week is going to have a working camera. But from us, that is that is everything. Thank you everyone once again so much for tuning in this evening. Thank you and good night.
Good night.
Desperately trying to hang on. He's got the inside. Here is through on the left-hand side. Hooks the apex, gets on the power nicely, and that is job done. Jarno Opmeer now to the last couple of corners now. His finest drive, his greatest drive, and he's done it at the Circuit of the Americas. He returns to the top step of the podium. Once again, the GOAT is back. Jarno Opmeer wins the US Grand Prix in a stunning Grand Prix.
Cocaine to my nose, there got rose in my cup though. Started climbing my pole, she got me locked in on cup though. Cocaine to my nose, there got rose in my cup though. Started climbing my pole, she got me locked in on cup though. Cocaine to my nose, there got rose in my cup though. Started climbing my